Okay. As Barbara was saying, I'm Jeff Witchel. I'm an Adobe Certified Instructor in InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. And years ago, I used to write something called Layers Magazine Tips of the Day. And they were mailed out to, about 20,000 subscribers or so every single day by Layers Magazine. And there was a tip a day, just weekdays, thank goodness. And after 5 years of doing that, I said to Scott Kelby, I'm not doing this anymore. So I became known as the tips guy. And I'm going to start with a bunch of quick tips. And the first one is, how big is big in InDesign? What are the limits that InDesign actually has?
You want your dinner?
I'm sorry? I was saying, how big is big in InDesign? What are actually the limits? And there's a cool way to figure out what the limits are for InDesign. I'm just selecting what looks like some really small type, but it's not. You can see it's actually 72 point. And I'm going to go to my character panel, and I'm going to ask InDesign to do something impossible. Usually when you ask InDesign for something that it can't come up with a good answer for, it will give you an error message. So what can I possibly put in here? I'm going to put in 0 points for my type, and I'm going to hit return. And it tells me that the value must be between 0.1 point, which is pretty small, and 1,296 points. Let's see if that's actually accurate. I'm going to type in 1,296. And yeah, it can make 1,296. Let me go to 1,297. It won't let me. So I found the limits for point size. And I'm just going to run through a bunch of really quick tips. And let's see, I'm just going to go to open. And okay, for this, I actually have to do something in InDesign. Well, let me open the file first. I'm going to open this placeholder text. One of the questions that came up really early when I first started to use InDesign, which was a lot of years ago now, is there a way to use different text for your placeholder text? And there actually is. I'm going to open this file, and I'm just going to show you that if I go to type and I go to fill with placeholder text, I get the regular placeholder text. I think I'm going to turn off what I usually have on, which is dynamic spelling, or else I'm going to have that all night. So I'm just going to undo that. And I'm going to kind of get out of InDesign here for just a second. And I'm going to find the file that is actually called placeholder.txt. Okay. If you want to use different text for your placeholder, create any text you want and save a text file and name it placeholder.txt. And what I'm going to do, because I don't want to mess this up, I'm just going to copy my placeholder.txt, and I'm going to paste it into my main InDesign folder. There it is right there. And now when I go back into InDesign, I don't even have to restart. If I go to type, fill with placeholder text, it's going to fill it with that text instead. And let me just zoom in a bit, because it's exactly what I just said just now. This all started because a friend of mine, when I first started using InDesign, he actually was still using Quark. And I convinced him he should start using InDesign, and how did I convince him? I said that he'll save 25% on my invoices. And he went for that right away. And but when I brought in my comp, there was one paragraph that I didn't have the text for yet. So I used placeholder text, and he said, oh, I don't like that. I like Quark's Jabber, which is what their placeholder text was called. And he said, can you use that? And I said, sure. And I didn't find out until later why he liked Jabber. He was kind of a Star Trek fan, and one of the words in Jabber was Klingon. So he wanted that text, okay? So yes, you can use any text at all. Just name the file, the text file, placeholder.txt. Let's see, I'm just gonna take this now. If I can find it, what do they do with it? Here it is. And I'm gonna drag it to my trash, hopefully. Let's see, yes, I did. And now, without even restarting again, if I were to select all this text and just delete it and go to type fill with placeholder text, it's going to go back to Quark's normal placeholder text. So you really can use any text you want for placeholder text. Let me see what's coming up here. More quick tips. Let InDesign do the math as I fall down in my seat here. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually have InDesign do math for you, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this blue rectangle or blue square. Oh, it's a rectangle. And I want to make some changes to it. I want to make it bigger, but I don't want to just make it bigger. I want to make it bigger by a certain amount. So I went into my width field in the control panel, and I'm going to put a plus sign there. And maybe I want to add to that 2.125. And if I hit return, it makes it that 2.125 inches wider. You could also subtract. Let me do that. How about -3? And you'll notice that because I have a center reference point selected, let me choose the center one. It's doing it from the outside in, okay? And when I made it smaller, which means if it was already centered in my page, I don't have to recenter it, which is pretty cool. It also, I'm sure you're wondering, does it do division? How about divided by 2? Yes, it does. How about multiplication? I'm going to do an asterisk, and I'm going to do 3. So times 3. And you'll notice it's still centered in that page, which is pretty cool. And I remember when I first started to do InDesign training, most of the people I were training were Quark users. So I was doing Quark to InDesign. And if I had 10 people in a class, there would always be one Quark diehard. And they always liked to ask questions that they thought you couldn't answer in a positive way. So they would say, well, how about you add 23 points? Well, okay, I'll give that a try. I'm going to do a plus sign there, and I'm going to do 23 PT. And it does add and subtract mixed measurements. So I wonder about complicated math, you know, where it's more than just one thing. Maybe I'll do the slash for divide by 2, and then add plus 2. Okay, let's see what that does. It does it. So it's not just the width field or the height field, it's anything. You know, anything that has a measurement in it, you can use it to do calculations for you. So if you ever pull out a calculator when you're working in InDesign, there's something that you don't know about, which is, it is a calculator. Hey, it's a computer, right? Okay, let me close this and open the next one. And for some strange reason, this one is called defaults. Interesting, okay. I wonder what defaults I'm talking about. Okay. one of the great things about InDesign is you can very easily change your defaults. And if you have a document open, you're changing your defaults for just that one document. So if I were to, I don't know, go to my text wrap panel and with no object selected, and I add a wrap, okay? From that point on until I change it back, if I were to draw any kind of an object, it's automatically going to have a text wrap. And the way you change it back is you do just the opposite. I deselect everything and I go back to no wrap, no text wrap. And if I draw an object again, let me draw it right in the middle over here, it's not going to wrap. And I know there's a second page to this. Wait a second. Oh, yeah, of course. The same thing goes for swatches. Let me get out of my rectangle tool there. If I were to add a color with no object selected, and I start drawing objects, it's going to draw an object with that color already in it because I changed my defaults. So some cool things you can do with that. And if you were to do stuff like this with no documents open, you're changing your defaults for all new documents. So if you ever, have the occasion where, you're working on a document and all of a sudden you're drawing cyan colored rectangles, you'll know what you did. And you'll be able to just deselect everything and go back to the normal defaults. White fill and a black stroke. Okay, let me see what's coming up here. Get out of this folder. And out of proportion images. This is a cool one. How many times have you gotten a pre-flight error that says you have an image that's out of proportion? I hear people talking about that all the time, and it's like, I even deleted the image. And I brought the image in again and it was still out of proportion. Well, that's because the frame actually remembers what it had before. And I'm not exactly sure which one is out of proportion. Well, let's not talk about the color space here. Well, it looks like there's nothing out of proportion. That's weird. Oh, here it is, non-proportional scaling. I just didn't get to it. So there is an image, rh6226.jpg. Let me click on the page number to select it. There it is. And if I hit this little strange icon over here that a lot of people don't know what it is, looks like a sideways E pointing down. And if I hover over it, it says select content. I use that all the time because there's certain times that you just can't get to the content grabber, or the donut as most people call it, in the middle, and you can't select your image. You could always click on this and you can see up over here in the control panel, it's 22% one way and 23.05342, whatever, the other direction. And how do I get it back into proportion? It's really easy, because by default, the width percentage and the height percentage are linked together. If you change either one, they both will become the same number. So if I click my down arrow here, they both become 23%. And it's back in proportion, and the error message went away in pre-flight. So let me see what else is going on this page. Nothing. Okay. But that's a question that we see all the time on the Adobe forums. People just going out of their minds trying to figure out how to fix it. And the answer is, it's not really a great idea to hold down your shift key and manually change the size of a picture, because at some point you're going to let go of that shift key before you let go of your mouse, and it's going to be slightly out of proportion. So let me close this and go to the next quick tip. Get out of this folder. And I guess that's it for quick tips. I'm going to go on to the next section, which has to do with bullets. And I guess this is the one I opened. Too many files in here. This is crazy. Okay. And okay. A lot of times the way people will normally set up bullets, at least the InDesign way of setting bullets, not the old-fashioned way where you would do a first line indent and then an indent as well. A lot of people are now using, let me go to my paragraph panel, and go under the options menu to bullets and numbering. And I don't think I selected anything. Let me select something. That might be a good idea. Okay, I'll select several paragraphs, go back under the options menu and go to bullets and numbering. I used to do it this way until I found a better way. What I really don't like about this is you're starting from scratch. First, you have to pick that you want bullets, and then you get this. And what is this about? Tab 0.5 and just alignment left, and you have to start figuring out left indent and first line indent. There is actually a better way. And what you can do is, only if I can get to it, it looks like Zoom is in the way. Let me move this down a little bit. If I find bullets and numbering, which are right here in my control panel, I'm just going to apply a default bullet, just like that. I've done half the work already. All I have to do now is get to the options. Options or alternatives. Anytime you hold down Option or Alt and click on just about anything, the options or alternatives for that particular feature will open up. So I'm going to Option click Alt on Windows, and there it is, bullets and numbering. It opens right up. So now I have this set up already, and I can pick other bullets. I could change this if I want. I can do a first line indent that's less. Whoops, no, I can't. That's less. And I can move my bullet closer to my text if I want. So instead of spending a couple of minutes doing this, I can spend 20 seconds. And if you're doing enough bullets and numbering in a document, and as you're setting up styles, it can save you quite a bit of time. Now, there is a new feature which I think is great for bullets and numbering. I'm just going to click OK. And normally I would have saved this as a style right now. But before I do that, I love this. It says ignore. Adobe found the ultimate way to get people to pay attention to something. Tell them to ignore it, okay? And what is that about? I haven't seen that before the past couple of versions. It's the space between paragraphs that are the same formatting, okay? So what I'm gonna do is set up, how about 1/10 of an inch between my bullets? And a lot of people like to have their bullets kind of gathered closer together to make them a group, almost like a section. And they want more space above and more space below as you go to your regular text. This does that automatically. I can save this as part of a style, my bullet style, and it's always going to have that amount of space between my bullets and then go back to regular spacing after or before. So that's a pretty cool one. And that's fairly new. But it always makes me laugh that Adobe put the word ignore there instead of just putting a straight line to say that it's not active right now. Let me open the next one. And okay, I already did that one. Go back to my main folder, frames and objects. Okay, and let's see, I'm just going to continue running through these. A lot of people like to set up grids, grids of photographs or different colors or whatever it might be. And one of the things that you can do to help you out is if you go under your layout menu, you can go to create guides. And it's actually allowing you to set up a grid. And this is something that I use all the time. You can pick the number of rows that you want. Maybe I want 3 rows and 3 columns. I can set up the gutter between the rows and the columns, make it anything I want. I could set this up to either the page or the margins. I'm going to choose margins, which is why my margins are kind of strange here. I have like 3 inches down the bottom. And it's also a fast way to remove existing guides. You can just check remove existing guides and it will do it. I'm going to hit preview and you can see that within my margins, I have a perfect grid of 9, 3 across and 3 down. And so now when I draw my graphic frames or whatever, they're going to snap right to the guides. Okay, let me continue. Okay. Oh, this is a fun one. A lot of the things that I play around with, if they're not real features or tips, some of them are just tricks. Like for instance, you cannot select a guide and an object at the same time. It's just not possible. So if you select just guides by clicking and dragging across them with your selection tool, you'll select just the guides. But as soon as you include an object, objects always take precedence over guides. So you will select just the object. But this is one of those things that I love to do because I love to make bets that I can't lose. And people will say, oh, you can't do that. There's no way. Oh, you want to bet? And I never bet on something that I know I'm not going to win. Okay. So I'm going to click on this guide. I'm not selecting it, or am I? I am actually. And so you can select a guide and an object at the same time. All you do is click and hold on the guide. Whoops, I missed. My aim is not that good tonight. Okay, so I'm going to click and hold on that guide until I see the double arrows and then drag it down to the object. And you can select a guide and objects at the same time. Fun fact. Okay, let me close this and I'm going to open the next one. Oh, yeah, this is something that happens occasionally to some people and they go absolutely nuts. I have a multiple page document here and I'm going to scroll down to another page. And I'm going to go to my rulers and I'm going to drag a guide out and let go, and there is no guide. Now, this is something that people do by accident. If you scroll down to another page and you don't click on that page, you're not going to make a guide. It's not going to happen because you're not even on that page. As soon as I click on a page, look at that. Now I can do a guide, no problem. So the trick there was that I actually tricked everybody. I mean, I just scrolled down. Scrolling down doesn't do anything. You can see the page, but you're not really on that page until you click on it, okay? Let me close this one and go to the next one. The names of these are so long that I don't know what it is until I open it up. This is something that happens occasionally. You select a line, and you'll notice that if I zoom in really closely here for just a second, that it's actually not straight, which is why the bounding box is much bigger than the stroke. Let me zoom back out, just hitting Command and Control 0. And is there a way to actually straighten out that line? because there's nothing here. I mean, you can't like go into rotate or anything. It's already at 0. So I wonder what I can do. Well, there actually is something in Pathfinder, and in convert shape, if I go over this, the little plus sign here, it actually is not a plus sign. It will convert any line into a vertical or horizontal line. If it's closer to being horizontal, it will make it horizontal. If it's closer to being vertical, it will make it vertical. Let me just click on that, and you can see it straightened it out. Okay, let me move on. There's a reason I call them quick tips. Okay, let me go to the next one. This is something that when I was doing a lot of Quark to InDesign training, the Quark diehard sitting in the back of the room who didn't want to be there would always ask something that they thought was just not possible to do. And is it possible to have a 3-sided text frame? And the answer is absolutely. I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, the white arrow, and I'm going to go over the right side of this rectangle and just delete it. And yes, you can have a 3-sided text frame that will contain text. I can actually click on another point, and it's always going to fill the open area. Let me go back. Okay. I wonder if I can do the same thing with a picture. Let me not save this and go to the next one. Okay, 3-sided graphic frame. And let me open that. And an illustration I did lots and lots of years ago. Let me zoom in a little bit closer on it. I did this so early in Illustrator's life that I couldn't print it because my printer didn't have enough RAM. Okay, I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on just the right side. And hopefully I actually got that. I'm like, no, I didn't. Let me try that again. Wait a second. I have to make sure I get that little line segment line under the arrow. And let me click now and delete. And yes, you can actually have a 3-sided graphic frame with an image in it. Let me delete another side. How about I delete another side? Whoops, I selected the whole thing. I can tell. Okay, that point. Okay, the image is actually still there. You just can't see it. I'm going to go to my pen tool. And even if I went down to a single point, I'm going to draw something that kind of looks like a rectangle, but not really. Just to show you that I'm not doing undo. And you can actually still have the picture there, even if you have a single point from that graphic frame, okay? It's still there. And let's see, I think I have another one using that picture. Let me just see. Graphic frame. I don't have another one, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, let me open that up again. Yeah, one of the things that's kind of funny is you can actually cut a picture in half. Let me do that. I'm going to go to my scissors tool. I can never remember where the scissors tool is, so I'm just going to press C for scissors. C for scissors. Oh, S is for scale. That's right. So they chose the second letter. And I have my scissors tool, and I'm just going to cut this in a couple of places, top and bottom. And I can actually take this picture and move it apart if I want. It is actually now 2 different pictures. If I go to my links panel, you see that it's linked twice, one to each side that I cut in half. So that's pretty cool. Let me close this and see what's next. Okay, I know what this one is. Okay. Yeah, I wonder if there's a quick way to align the various logos here. You can tell what I'm into. Um, and align them using the align panel. I wonder if I can do that. Well, the frames are like all different sizes, so I'm not even going to bother with the frames. I'm just going to click and let me hold down my shift key, and I'm going to select them all. Actually, instead of doing that, why don't I do the right thing? I'm going to select all of these. And like I said earlier, I'm going to go to the sideways E pointing down for select content. So I have all of the content within those frames selected. And if I go to my align panel, let's see, how about I align the tops first? Let me do that. Make sure that, let's see. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, I'm aligning to selection. That's what I want. So I'm going to align the tops to each other. Okay, cool. And I wonder if I can make the space between the same. And it works. Okay. Visually, it's not right, you know, because the shapes of, you know, certain ones like the blue moon and this interesting shape over here. Visually, they're not centered, but it's pretty good. You know, you can make minor adjustments, but let me just go to preview and deselect everything. I still have my shift key down, so it's not going to do anything. So not bad. Okay, if they were all rectangles, they would be perfect. Okay, let me close this and see what's coming up next. Okay, I think I'm done with frames and objects, I believe. Yes, let me go to, oh yeah, scripts for non-scripters. Yeah, there's a lot of people when I did a presentation to my local InDesign user group in New Jersey. And as soon as I said scripts, you could see people getting nervous and they were ready to, you know, jump up out of their chairs and run out of the room because we all know that most artists do not like scripting. Okay, let me open this. And there's some really cool things that you can do. Let me just go to my first page. Like, for instance, remember I made a grid earlier under the layout menu, create guides. Well, this is just the opposite. I already have my objects here, and I'm going to select them. I have 4 rectangles with a really interesting effect applied to them, an inner shadow, kind of looks like a window. And I'm going to go to my my scripts panel, and I have some cool stuff in here. Calendar wizard, check it out. Really cool. Yeah, that you have to download from the internet, and you can get it for free, but they ask for a donation. It's really cool. So if you ever need to do a calendar, use Calendar Wizard. Incredibly cool. And I'm in my user right now. That's not where I want to be. I want to go to the very top. I want to go to the things that actually come with the application. And I'm going to go into the samples that are available, either, and in my case, because I'm on a Mac, it's AppleScript or JavaScript. Let me go to JavaScript. I believe it's the same scripts in both of them. But there is this wonderful script that comes with InDesign that's called Make Guides. Let me just scroll down to it. Or Make Grid, that's what it is. No, Make Grid? Yeah, I think that's what it is. No, it's Make Guides. I kind of lost it. Okay, Add Guides, that's what it was. Make Grid is another way to make a grid. Let me just hit double click on Add Guides, and it wants to know, where do I want the guides? Do I want it top, left, bottom, right, horizontal center, vertical center? Maybe I don't want horizontal center and vertical center. Add a guide around each object, or you can do entire selection. And you can actually offset the guides if you want, which can be very helpful. And I'm just going to click OK. And there are the guides. Pretty cool. How long would that take doing it manually? A little bit longer. Let me go down to the next one, see what I got here. Image catalog. This is a cool one. How many times have you downloaded a bunch of stock images and you haven't bought them yet, and you want to make sure that you're in agreement with the client as to which one you should use, and you send them a whole bunch of images, okay? And what you can do is actually set up an image catalog really quickly. I'm going to go down to image catalog. There it is. And I'm going to double click on it. And it's asking me to find a folder. And I guess this is the one. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to click open. And it wants to know how many rows, how many columns. So I'm setting up a grid again. But my favorite thing is it's automatically going to put a label, the file name, or other choices, file path, and a bunch of other stuff that most people would not be interested in. And how big is it going to be? 24 point. That's gigantic. Oh, that's the height of the. Okay, that's cool. Do I want to offset it? No, I'm just going to do it exactly the way it is, and I'm going to click OK. And it's going to find all those images and put them into an image cat. It's done. Okay, cool. So pretty cool what you can do with scripts. Let me go down. I need to get out of this file. It makes an untitled file that it will put that image catalog in. Let me go down to my next page. This one is Make Grid. That's what I was talking about earlier. If you don't want to take the time to go to the layout menu and go down to create guides, you can just use a script. So I'm going to make grid right here, double click on it. And maybe I want, how about 3, whoops, I typed 2 even though I said 3. 3 by 3, I'll have a gutter, 12 point, I think is fine. Retain formatting and content. So if you had a picture in here, it would divide it up into a grid and the picture would still be there. And it has a different part of the picture in each of those graphic frames. And they all line up with each other, which is pretty cool. I'm going to click OK. And there's my grid. Way faster, than drawing these manually. That'd be ridiculous. Okay, let me go down to the next one. This is something that I use occasionally. I have a bunch of names and I want to alphabetize them. And I'm going to go to a script called Sort Paragraph. Sort Paragraphs. And I'm going to double click on that. And by default, it will ignore formatting, which it says is faster. And you also can do ignore spaces. So if there's spaces in there someplace, it's going to ignore them. You could also do a backward sort, so it's going to go from Z to A. I'm going to just do it exactly as it is here, ignoring the formatting, even though it's all the same. And boom, it's done. Okay. So scripts can save a tremendous amount of time. Okay, another one here. Let me see what this is. Wait a second. Yeah, this I would actually do a different way now. But do you ever get, a manuscript in Word from a client, and they're doing their fractions like this, where it's not the proper slash and the 1 is the same size as the 2. Well, a friend of mine, a guy named Dan Rodney, who is a trainer in New York. Let me just go back up. This doesn't come with InDesign. I need to find it. Let's see, I guess I have to go down. Wait a second. This would be in my user scripts. And he created something called proper fractions. And if I want a proper fraction, even if it's not open type, it works, okay? And I'm just going to double click on proper fraction and it makes it into a fraction. And I could do the same thing here. Let me select the 1/2, double click. Now I don't need the space. So it does work. Is it perfect? Not really. But he has, this is a free version. You can just download it. He has another version which will automatically convert your fractions into real fractions, okay? So pretty cool. But he has another one, and this is something that comes up all the time, especially if you work on catalogs that have measurements in them. Everybody knows that by default, if you type a quote, it's going to come out like that, okay? It's going to be the curly Q typographically correct quotes. But if I find, wait a second, let me find his script now, quotes to foot and inch marks, there we go. And I'm just going to double click on that and it makes it back into what I want. If it's a double quote, it becomes an inch. And if it's a single quote, it becomes a foot mark. Okay. So let me see what else I have here. Let's see what's here.
Jeff, is that script free? The last one from Dan?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, just go to danrodney.com.
Okay, thanks.
And okay, I'm going to close this one. Some of the stuff I'm actually going to skip because I'm trying to get ahead. This is probably 2 hours long, so we're not going for 2 hours. I'm just going to open the next one. And yeah, this is an interesting one. Now, a lot of people, they want to know, is there a way to apply paragraph styles like every other paragraph or whatever? Or, you know, to select just the paragraphs that you want to be subheads. And the answer is no, you can't do that. But what you can do is select a paragraph and go to your eyedropper and click on that, type, and it picks up the formatting. And the cool part about it is not that you can do that. The cool part is that it actually, if the original had a style, it will apply that style. So you can see tip heading has actually been applied to that. And this one is what? Tip copy. And if I go to my eyedropper and click on that, it not only will apply the formatting, it's applying the style as well. Of course, it doesn't keep it selected, so you can see that, but there it is. It does apply the style. Okay, let me close this one and go on to the next one. Okay, this is a fairly complicated one, so hopefully I'm awake enough to do it. I'm going to open a file that has an AI file placed into it. It's the entire map of my home state, New Jersey, yay. And it was saved as an AI, and a lot of people don't know that you can turn on and off layers in an Illustrator file from within InDesign. And it can be really, really helpful to be able to do that. I have a whole workflow that's based on this, this one feature. I'm going to go under the object menu to object layer options, and it's going to show me all of the layers and which ones are turned on or off in that Illustrator file that was placed into InDesign. Well, here's New Brunswick. I live right around there. let me turn that off, and I'm going to turn on Trenton, which is in a separate layer. So each star has a separate layer, which allows me to turn them on or off. I can turn multiple stars on or off. Can turn off New Jersey itself. There you go. And it gives you a preview. Let me go back and turn on my neck of the woods. There we go. So that's interesting. And what it allows you to do is you can have one piece of artwork that, I mean, this was actually done for a real estate brochure where it was used really small on every page, and it showed the location of the commercial property in the state. And what was nice about it was I cropped the map once, and I believe it was on a master page, so I just unlocked it locally and I changed the stars around, and it worked great. It saved a whole bunch of time. I didn't have to worry about things lining up the same way or being cropped the same way. Let me go down to the next page, and now for the fun one, which I'm probably going to shoot myself after this one. I'm going to bring an image in here. I'm just going to go to File, Place. And let's see. I'm not going to use the TIFF because that ain't going to work. You have to use native formats in order for this feature to work. So a PSD will work. I do a lot of freelance for Chili's, and this was from a photo shoot from last year. We should have actually been out at the photographer again shooting stuff for this year, but hey, we're not doing that. Restaurants are not doing well. And so I have this image, and I'm going to duplicate this image. Okay, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it in place. Okay, so, and there it comes back into focus again. I imagine these are pretty big. Okay, but I'm going to go to my layers panel, my friend the layers panel, because it allows me to select that bottom image, okay, just by clicking on the selection square, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into swatches, and I'm going to create a new swatch. I'm just going to go to new color swatch, and I'm going to make a rich black. How about 50% cyan, 40% magenta, and 40% yellow, and 100% black. Okay, and I'm just going to click OK. So I also, by selecting my back object, I applied that black fill underneath the photo. And what I want to happen, I'm going to turn off the top one just so it doesn't get confusing. And it looks like nothing happened because they were pasted right in front of each other. But I'm going to select the image instead of the frame. So I just clicked on the content grabber, and I'm going to go to gradient feather. And I'm going to do something that probably doesn't make all that much sense at this point. I'm just going to hit my shift key to make sure I do this straight. And I'm going to make this fade to black over that amount of time, just because now you can see through the picture to the black fill. Let me make it even a little, whoops, no, I don't want to do that, no. Let me hold down my shift key again, and I'm going to make it come down a little bit lower. There you go. That's too much. And I keep forgetting that I have to hold down my shift key. Let me go a little higher. Cool. Oh, didn't work. That pesky shift key didn't stay. Okay, let me try that again. Okay, cool. Still not working. What's going on here? I always say that in every presentation, there'll be one thing that doesn't work. There you go. Okay, now, why would I want to do that? Well, I have the other picture on top, and this tray is actually on a separate layer. And if I select that picture instead, by just clicking on the selection square, if I go to Object Layer Options, I can turn off the background right there. Cool. And I have my tray. It's not going to give me a great preview until I click OK. And then it's going to kind of think about it and it's going to come up. But what's really kind of cool about this is I'm going to select the bottom one again, the bottom object. And I'm going to go to my rectangle tool and I'm just going to draw a little rectangle here. And I'm actually drawing a rectangle in between frames. Well, no, I'm not. Let me move it there. Okay. I'm drawing a rectangle between layers in my Photoshop file because of the way I have layers turned on and off. Let me just show you. I'm going to make this, fill it with red. And it's probably going to say something like free. No, it'll never be free. No. But you can do things like this, really promotional kind of stuff, where you have an object that's in InDesign between layers in a Photoshop file, just by having two of the same Photoshop file on top of each other with a rectangle sandwiched in between. And people always, question, well, what happens if you move one by accident? I can actually select both of these at the same time, just by clicking and dragging across them. But how do I get to the pictures? If I click on the content grabber, it's only going to select the top one. That's where the little magic select content comes in. I'm selecting both images at the same time. If I want to rotate my images, I can do that. Okay, let me rotate it back the other way. I could scale it. I can go to scale, there you go, and make it bigger if I want. Cool. And they're in perfect alignment. If they go out of alignment, you can actually use your align panel to put them back into alignment. You just do center, center, and they end up right on top of each other again. Pretty cool feature that I use all the time because I do a lot of promotion for Chili's. And at least I used to before the pandemic. I really hope it comes back. It's a fun client. Okay, let me close this down. And let's see, how much time do I have?
About 15 more minutes, a little bit more.
15 minutes? Oh, great.
18,
Okay.
18. Yeah. That was a cool,
Terrific.
that last tip was really cool. I remember that from last time. That was really neat. Thank you.
Yeah, I bet it's possible I didn't do it.
Yeah, I
was probably
great.
too tired. Okay. That's one of those things you really have to be awake for. Here's another quick one. I call it everything in a name. Cool. And let's see, there's actually a second file there. I don't know where it is. Let's see. Let me open the other one. Now I don't know which one is which. Oh, that's two. This must be one. Okay, there it is. Let's say you were working on a brochure, and the brochure was done a lot of years ago in InDesign, and you decided to do a facelift, and the client's branding has changed, and you want to now use the new typefaces. And what if you could copy all of the text in the old document and just paste it into the new one, and everything would be automatically formatted? That might be pretty cool, right? And the reason for, I don't think I want to be in my scale tool now. I'm going to select my text. I just wanted to show you something before I do that. If I go to my paragraph styles, the name of this style, very original, it's called headline. Okay. And this one is called copy. What I'm going to do is select all of my text at once. I mean, this could go on for pages. And I'm going to go to my new document where I set up the styles the way they should be. Okay. But you'll notice that one is called headline and one is called copy. And if I paste that text that I just copied out of another InDesign file into here, it's going to pick up the new style. Okay. And it's only because they have the same names. And InDesign actually believes that it's just pasting copy and it already has the style applied and it applies the style in the new document. So that could be a big time saver if you have to reformat something and it's really big. So let me just close these guys. And open the next one. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, content aware, yes. Okay, let me open this up. Let's see, I'm just gonna bring in some photographs and let me just go to File, Place. And it might help if I was in the right folder. Go to my links and I'm just gonna select everything, just clicking and dragging down everything. And I'm just gonna place all of them in here, and they're coming in some pretty odd sizes. But wouldn't it be better if InDesign could actually help me crop them? I'm not saying it's going to crop them perfectly, but it's going to give me like a head start because all of these seem to be too big or off center or whatever. So I'm going to select all of these at once. And I'm going to go under my object menu to fitting, content aware fit. So it's using artificial intelligence to crop the images. And it takes a little bit of time. I get the spinning wheel of death because I did, what, 6 pictures at the same time. And it did a pretty good job. You know, I may want to do some tweaking. You know, it's possible that, you know, this is a little bit weird. Maybe I want to go that way a little bit. Yeah, I don't think there is a way to crop this picture in this shape. But you can see that it does actually do a pretty good job. And some of these are, you know, horizontal pictures being cropped into vertical frames, and it does a nice job. So, and like I said, you may have to move things around a little bit. Maybe it's not exactly what you want, but it's a good head start. Okay, just close this guy and go to the next one. Wraps, okay. Yeah, wouldn't be a good day without a wrap tip. Okay, let me open this up. There is actually a new feature in InDesign that I absolutely love it. It's a feature that has actually existed in Photoshop for a little bit of time. I believe it was introduced a couple of versions ago. But wouldn't it be great without doing anything if I could wrap this dog nicely, you know, so it kind of contours around his face. And let me select the image. So I'm going to have to click through my text frame. So I'm going to hold down my command key and just click again to select the image. And I'm going to go to my wrap panel and I'm going to do a shape wrap, which for some reason by default it does same as clipping. How many people are actually using clipping paths? I don't know. Yay, good job. But there are other choices. One of them is a brand new one, which is select subject. Okay, it's going to wrap the subject of the image. Not bad. Let me increase the offset a little bit, and it does a pretty good job. So you can see it actually made a contour around the subject of the photo, and that's what it's wrapping. And I offset that a little bit away from the dog right there. Okay. Let me go to the next one. And okay. I'm going to skip fine color because that will drive me crazy at this point. It's another new feature that's pretty cool. It allows you in fine change to find and change a color from one color to another. But the thing I chose is too complex to do at, for me, 9:30 at night. So I'm going to do this one instead. do you ever have a situation where a client, you're having a Zoom meeting, of course you're having a Zoom meeting, everybody has Zoom meetings, and you're showing business cards to your client. And of course, they want to see both of them at the same time, both choices, but let me just see here. Yeah, they want to see this one and this one at the same time. I'd rather go back and forth like that. It really gives them a good idea. But what you can do is go to the lower right corner of your layout, and there's this little click to split the layout view, okay? And let me go to this one, and I'm just going to fit my window. Of course, it went to the first one, but now you can look at both of them at the same time. And if you want to go back to looking at just one, you can combine them again right over here. Click to close split layout view, and we'll go back to just that one. Okay. And go to open again. Let's see, there's one that I really want to do. Hopefully I'm not too tired for this one. I'm going to try this. Last time I tried this, it didn't work. So I'm being very brave. Okay, and that was only at 6:30 at night, my time. Let's see, so I'm going to go to my Pages panel, and you can see that because I saved this document when I was on a master page, there it is, I'm on a master page when I open the document. InDesign, of course, is very polite, and it always opens a document wherever you saved it. And what I want to do is, I want to set up page numbering, but I want to do really odd page numbering, something that usually you wouldn't see. Or if you do see it, it would be on just one page, the right page or the left page. I'm going to do it on both pages because I'm crazy. Let's see, I'm going to go to my type tool, and I'm just going to type page, and I'm going to do automatic page numbering. But before I do that, I want to make this type a lot bigger so you might actually be able to see it. I'm going to go up to 18 point. There we go. And page space. And then I'm going to go to type. Oh, great. It stopped on font, my favorite thing. There you go. I got out of it. Whew. Insert special character, markers, current page number. So it's going to put the current page number there. And the reason that it's an A is only because you're on an A master. And because I want to show a range of pages, I'm going to do page 2, let's say, to page 3. Okay. So what I'm going to do, actually, it should be pages, shouldn't it? Yes. Let me type an S there. And because it's a range, I'm going to do Option or Alt hyphen, which is a medium dash. And then I'm going to do something a little odd. I'm going to go under my type menu again, and I'm going to go to Insert Special Character, Marker, Next Page Number. The reason why I'm doing next page number is because this is the next page, my right-hand page. So that should put that page number over here, right? Hopefully. And the part that I screwed up earlier when I was trying this, let's see, I'm going to go under my type menu, and I'm going to insert a break. I'm going to do either a page break or a frame break. I'll do a page break. So it's going to probably, let me just see what happened here. Oh, it actually worked. Okay. I just want to turn on, just to make sure, so I'm not wasting time here. I'm going to go under my view menu to extras, and I'm going to do show text threads. And okay. I don't know why it's not doing it. Okay, let me click over here and then click on, oh, I moved the frame. That's not what I wanted to do. Let me go back to here again. Select this, click on the out port, and now click on the in port. And let me just see if it actually worked. It did, okay. I'm gonna type once again, pages. It's in the wrong place, but I'll fix it. pages. I want not the current page number, but the previous page number now, because the page to the left is the previous page. So I'm going to go under my type menu again to insert special character markers, previous page number. Okay, I'm going to do my Option or Alt hyphen again, and then I'm going to go back under the type menu to insert special character, and this is actually the current page. So I'm going to go to markers, current page number, and I want to align this to the right. So let me go to my paragraph panel and just align it to the right. Go to my pages, and now the moment of truth, let me go to pages 2 and 3. And it does say pages 2 and 3, pages 2 and 3. I'll go to pages 4 and 5, and it says 4 and 5, 4 and 5. So it does work, except it's not going to work on page 8. It does something really weird. It does page 8 pasteboard, okay? Because there is no previous page. It's just not going to do it. There's no page next to it, so it's not going to do the next page is what it should be. And luckily, probably you're not going to use an A master on page 8 or on page 1. So I'm just dragging on none there. And so that solved that problem, but pretty cool. And that actually came from a question that somebody had asked on the Layers Magazine forum. Yay, so it's an old tip. Okay, let's see what else we have. There's one I really want to get to if I can. Racing the
Probably
clock.
should wrap it up after this next one.
Okay, so I'll
But
go.
that question you just answered, we've had on the InDesign forum also. That
Oh,
was
really?
great. That was such a great answer. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see where I am here. Tables, this is what I want. So it was the next one. Table. Okay. I used to do work for a client. Great, I'm missing the typefaces. I love when that happens. Okay. And I don't know why it's happening, but let me fix that. This goes on forever. Let me just choose it was just taking a second to open up. Okay, so I jumped the gun there. There's an advertising agency that's actually in Denver. I think they moved though. They're not in Denver anymore. Elish Marketing, a friend of mine, Warren Elish, and he had a local store that sold wines and beer and all kinds of stuff. And they were just this ginormous store. But anyway, they used to run in the 2 Denver newspapers every single week this sale that all it was ridiculously boring. It was just listings of what they sold and what the price was, okay? And they made out like bandits because it actually worked. But I remember setting up stuff like this, and they would always at the last minute say, oh, you know that column that starts with 94 WS and 93 RP, whatever that is? Can you take that column out? And it's like, oh, geez, really? And then I discovered that there's a way to actually do it really quickly. I'm just going to select everything, and everybody's going to go, oh, yeah, of course. I'm going to go under my table menu, and I'm going to convert the text to a table. Okay. And it does it, of course. And I have a bunch of extra columns here that I want to get rid of, including that 93 RP, whatever it was. So I can just go to my table menu to delete and delete column. And I also have an extra column here, it looks like, yes. And I'm going to go to table, delete,